don't know how this happened. Maybe it was watching all of Trixie Mattel's Barbie collection videos. Maybe that somehow seeped into my subconscious. Perhaps rewatching every single Micarah Tour sewing video somehow manifested itself in my mind by creating this desire to sew something obscenely difficult. Maybe a year of quarantine is maybe this way. All I know is that I did something right, because this glamorous, career-driven 1985 woman lives in my apartment by way of eBay, haunting me, watching me, judging me. I have become compelled to recreate this insane outfit in human proportions. Today, I am turning myself into 1985 astronaut Barbie. Hi, I'm Jess. I like making things. Every Thursday, I make a weird thing that I think should exist or exist differently. I started this costume months ago because I knew it would be very difficult. I need time, lots of time to do these projects, to allow for several cycles of me working relentlessly on something for 3 days, burning out in a frustrated rage, taking a couple days to cool down, and starting the whole process a few days later. I have several intentions and goals for this project. First of all, I wanted to make pants that could be worn without the costume. The top of the costume will definitely never be worn again, as it's ridiculous and sounds crazy. I want to make obscenely large puffy sleeves. I want to learn how to do it and how it works. I want to make these pink moon boots from scratch. The boots that I make, they don't have to be functional, they just have to look right. I'm definitely never going to wear them again. I'm going to take an old cheap pair of sandals of mine that broke and see if I can carve them into the heel shape. If that doesn't work, I'll sacrifice an old pair of shoes. I have an immense, highly underutilized shoe collection. Finally, by influence of the historical fashion community, the drag community, congratulations Simone! Choose my favorite to win as you want. And morbid curiosity, I want to try out the corset I bought online. I'll find a way to reuse it eventually. So basically the components of the costume is there's this blouse, which was the most complicated part. On the costume itself, the belt is connected to the pants, but I wanted my pants to be rewearable, so I made them separate. So I made a blouse, belt, pants, and I'm gonna be making the boots. I made the pants and the blouse a couple weeks ago. I'll be showing you how I made those, and today I'm gonna assemble the boots. I began by harvesting the elastic from one of the numerous 2013 skater skirts I'll surely never wear again. I found it in my basement Tupperware bin full of other clothes and shoes that I'll never wear again, but have insisted on taking with me every place I've moved to over the last 7 years. I traced my most expensive sweatpants onto my least expensive wrapping paper to create a pattern for the pants. I bought 10 yards of this inexpensive fabric from Amazon. I think it came in the wrong packaging. The bag says it's a tablecloth. Surely I didn't just buy a tablecloth meant to be disposed of after some gaudy T-Mobile banquet dinner. Surely this wonderful inexpensive fabric won't be difficult to work with. And also, I knowingly bought a tablecloth for the bodice. And guess what? This is not fabric. This is like if plastic wrap and tin foil had a very, 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 very fragile baby that had to live in a bubble. This looks like something you put in the front of your car to like keep it cool in the summer. It's not even real fabric, it's just weird thin foil. Both of these fabrics have been a never-ending nightmare to work with. At this point, I ironed everything for the pants and added pockets. For the bodice, I designed an unrealistic, poorly thought out pattern that ultimately led me to wasting hours of my life. Fun. I lined the foil with yellow fabric so my sewing machine wouldn't rip up the silver material like an alligator at the end of hour 16 of an intermittent fast. I flat ironed the collar so I wouldn't have to put more water in my actual iron, and it worked perfectly. This is one way that puffy sleeves, or sometimes called leg of mutton sleeves, are made. This is your basic sleeve that attaches to the bodice of a shirt. This half circle is what makes up the puff of the puff sleeve. The inner half circumference is pulled straight and attached to the sleeve where you want the bottom of the puff to end. The outer half circumference of the half circle is attached along the top of the sleeve. This required a lot of bunching and pleating to get all of the excess fabric to fit. This excess fabric has to go somewhere, and it creates the puff. I figured this out by watching a video from a seamstress by the name of Tulumi, who I have linked below. Puffy sleeves were popular more recently in the 80s, but the style's much older than that. Originally, I thought that puffy sleeves were about flaunting wealth. You know, being able to afford more fabric was maybe seen as desirable. That could have been a part of it, but to the Victorians, puff sleeves were about emphasizing a tiny waistline. The snugger the corset, the bigger the sleeves, the tinier the waistline appears. It was all about illusion and proportions. I turned the sleeves inside out and sewed in some extra black fabric that I had laying around to help maintain maintain the shape of the puff. Throughout history, extra sleeve supporters have been put into garments made of fabric or even metal to keep sleeves from deflating. I spent hours and 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 hours carefully hand sewing my fluffy sleeves onto the bodice.
This is what we got.
Here's the issues with the top so far. Material's ripping. I accidentally cut through the collar. The middle section is much too small. I'm gonna put it on backwards just to show the positives here. I like how the shoulders fall when I look at it from the back. I didn't want to put pins through the silver fabric, so I just kind of sewed the lining and the silver together without pins. So it kind of skid all over the place. Kind of had to go further and further in on the seam allowance, and now it's just like way too small. I mean, like the look is there. I'm gonna be able to figure it out. I just think I have to cut out the whole inside and kind of just redo it. I'm gonna cut it up. So I made a new pattern for the bodice by tracing a jacket that exists in reality instead of just eyeballing a Barbie's outfit and calling it a day. I cut the collar off to save the fabric, and I cut the failure bodice in half. Then I attached the new bodice in the middle.
Yeah, so technically today's my last.
Okay, I've been working on this all day, and here's where I'm at. This is all new, you can't even really see where it connects. It still needs some alterations, but we're almost there. These decorative tubes right here on the bodice are what I'm making. I rolled up more old yellow fabric and secured it with hot glue to make the inside of the tube. I tried to just pull the material through the channels, which didn't work, so I took apart a wire hanger and used that to pull the fabric all the way through. The belt is just made from the vinyl material that I bought for the shoes. I hot glued the foil onto it. So this jacket has been stressing me out for weeks and weeks and weeks. I finally just put it on and realized that the pleats I have to add to the front to make it fit a little bit better are not that hard at all. I'm gonna give it a couple stitches, and I'm not gonna sew it up much. The silver material, it rips. It's just not meant to be fabric because this is a tablecloth. I sewed buttonholes. I've never done it before. I just did it by hand. I think I want to add an extra buttonhole up here just so the collar's not slouchy. So I need a button. I knew this jacket has one, like an extra button, but that's a little too big. Here's a shirt I've worn once. Check it out. Extra button, which we will be harvesting. Most of the pictures online of the sticker that goes on the front of the outfit, most of those pictures were blurry or kind of worn off, so I just mocked it up myself so it'd be nice and crisp. I printed it onto label paper, cut it out, and carefully stuck it onto the front of the blouse. Okay, so this is a Lazy Susan. They've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, typically utilized in a dinner setting, until now. Or until a couple weeks ago, I guess. I saw this reel on Instagram and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Ichinari on Instagram bought a heavy duty Lazy Susan bearing and these 2 pieces of wood to create this incredible turntable that you can stand on and show your outfits in a 360-degree view. I couldn't help myself. I bought the materials and went ahead and made this myself. I thought it'd be a really cool way to show off the final Barbie costume, and hopefully it'll be useful in the future as well. I spent $33 on the wood from Woodpecker Crafts and $15 on the 12-inch Lazy Susan bearing on Amazon. This project came in just under $50, which is pretty expensive. And that doesn't include the drill, the screws, and the glue that I already have. Hopefully it'll be a good investment. Ichinari made a great tutorial on her Instagram page, but here's how I made mine. Look, I didn't do the Lazy Susan right because I just didn't have the right tools. I used pens to mark the right spots, I drilled little pilot holes, and I screwed the bearing onto the 17-inch wood round. For the 14-inch wood round, I did a little sanding so the glue would stick, and I simply just hot glued it together. Don't do this. My turntable broke when I was filming because of how poorly I put it together. Go watch Ichinari's tutorial on Instagram, screw this thing together the right way, or use a stronger glue like E6000 or wood glue if you must. Okay, so once again, this is my bread knife. These are horrible sandals I bought from Urban Outfitters, and the back strap ripped right off. Don't know if this is gonna work. I kind of sketched out a shoe design on here. I'm just gonna see if it'll even let me cut into it. That's not gonna work. You know what? No, it's not gonna work. I really had hoped cutting into the sandals with the bread knife was gonna work, but I don't think it will, so I'm gonna go find another pair of shoes and I'm just gonna glue stuff to it. These are the shoes that I'm gonna be covering. So I watched a couple videos about shoemaking. I'm just gonna start with the heel and I'll cut that out. This is the leg of the boot. I'm just gonna keep them in 2 separate parts. It'll fit like that, cut over it like this. The shoes came out really messy. They're almost sort of passable from a distance anyway. The pink vinyl material I bought was $30 and it definitely was not worth it for this. Next time I'll just buy cheap white boots and paint over them. In the future, I really do want to learn more about making shoes. So in my last video, I started a whole other project. I already made the rug, and in the coming weeks, I'm going to recreate the Hey Arnold bedroom, how I would style it for myself. It's gonna be this teeny tiny little miniature version. And I thought to myself, it'd be cool if I could find a vintage Barbie to put in there to live in the little room. It's basically a dollhouse I'm gonna be making. I popped over to eBay and I think I just typed in like vintage Barbie or something like that, and I saw this young lady. She was only $12. She was out of the box and didn't come with any accessories. Her legs are weirdly sticky and her face is very squishy. She's definitely the authentic 1985 astronaut Barbie and not just another doll in the same outfit. You can tell because of her blue eyeshadow, the curly hair looks like the same one in the box, and she has this hole in her hand for a ring, which it didn't come with the ring. She's 12 inches tall and it would have thrown off the proportions of the bedroom. The rug was enough of a hassle, so I wanted to keep the project really small. So yeah, I just saw her on eBay. I loved her outfit. I was going to use her for that other project, but instead I'm doing this. My second most time-consuming project. Second only to the denim Furby I made a couple months ago. hope you enjoyed this project. This was really ambitious for me, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that I could have done a lot better. So please be nice to me. Follow me on Instagram, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Bye!